Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Two Toe Tags Metal Reviews. And today we're going to be reviewing the new album from KoYan titled The Nothing. So after listening to this album for one entire week non-stop, I'm going to take the floor and say that this album was awesome. I was loving it the entire week. Like, I would just put it on over and over, and every time I listened to it, like, I enjoyed it. I felt good with it. The grooves are fantastic. The emotion is so raw, as it normally is with a band like this. But if I'm going to go into some detail, I'd like to mention Idiosyncrasy. Now, we talked about this song last week. I just want to talk about how hard this song slams. Like, just the riff alone really drives home. Like, it just digs under your skin. Maybe, like, I guess more so than other tracks, but that's not to say that the other tracks are not as good because this album is sick all around. Cold is another one that really kept jumping out at me, I found, even though, you know, we had some time to listen to it, like, before the album released because it was a single. I just kept finding, like, oh yeah, like, turn it up just a little bit more when Cold was coming on. But another song I want to talk about is Surrender to Failure, which is the last track on the album. I feel like this song is such a perfect conclusion to the album. Like, after everything else you hear, all the other themes, like lyrically, musically, etc., like, this song is just such a good, like, closer. And, you know, I talked about last week how it is a literal bookend because it ends with Jonathan Davis crying, just like how the end begins did. But it feels so conclusive, and it feels very sad, yet also calming. And I found a lot of that on Issues as well, which is my favorite album of theirs. So if it's giving me vibes to another album that I love so much, I guess that's a good sign.
That's a good sign for sure.
And, but yeah, like, I found a lot of the lyrical content is about the death of his wife. Which I guess gave him ammunition to really express. You know, like I could tell the general stuff about a lot of the lyrics here is in regards to that event in Jonathan Davis's life.
The album's definitely very emotional, and he definitely obviously pulled from that pain. It felt a little bit forced to me at sometimes. It wasn't something that bothered me by any means, but it just felt a little bit acted. Like, especially the crying in the end begins. At the end, it seems like a fake cry. I don't know. Hard to say, hard to judge really, but again, it's just my own interpretation. Surrender to Failure is a great ending song. It almost is like a closure to the sadness kind of thing, but it's still there. It's just melancholy. It's just never gonna go away. Idiosyncrasy, you mentioned it a second ago. The way that song hits hard and it's just so raw and energetic and stuff like that. There's just like there's some simple things that make that song pop out to me too. Like the hi-hat on the upbeat during the chorus is friggin' awesome. And I find this album is just littered with stuff like that throughout. Like, there's a song, I believe it's You'll Never Find Me. There's this one drum fill he does where I feel like if I heard any other drummer do this, they would go snare and then roll down the toms. He goes floor tom, snare, and then down the toms. And I'm just like, just that little thing that's different, make that whole part sound just that much better. That flair. I talk about flair a lot. Because flair to me is something that if you have it, you make your band stand out. Whether you're the guitar player, the bass player, whatever, you have flair, you make your band stand out.
Ray does a fantastic job, like, on this album. I'll just say, like, he's such a perfect drummer for KoYan. Like, he fills in a lot of space and he leaves a lot of Easter eggs for you to find as you listen to albums. But his groove is just so comfortable sounding. Like, he nails everything that KoYan is. Like, it's just the perfect fit for a band like this.
And his style just suits every song too.
Exactly.
My go-to song was probably The Ringmaster. It's hard to say. The Ringmaster is definitely a high one. That's the song with the shuffle beat, which sets it apart. But you got this, like, sad, melancholy chorus that just ties it in with the rest of the album, right? Because it kind of has this almost like a happy kind of beat to it. Right? It's kind of upbeat.
Like the swing aspect of the shuffle, like, kind of gives it that upbeat vibe.
But the chorus is back down to this fucking, like, low feeling type of vibe that the rest of the album has, so it ties in very nice.
And then the beatboxing happens.
Yeah, but I just like that contrast though. The contrast of the verses to the chorus, but it still ties together is very nice.
Yeah, and the bridge is a lot darker too. Like that's when they really go hard and then finish it off with another chorus.
The chorus of that song though is probably one of the best on the album. It gives me Issues vibes as well, like Make Me Bad type of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's hitting a spot where I'm like, it feels like home, right? Other than that, I think Gravity of Discomfort probably has the best chorus on the album.
Agreed.
Because the bounce on that chorus is just dope. It's like, insane.
You get your whole body bounce into that chorus. It's so good.
Yeah. But you can do that a lot for this album.
Yeah.
And there's parts of this album where like they're going at it, then they break down lower, and then I can't remember if they go even lower than that, but there's a couple parts where it steps down, and I'm like, yes, these guys are throwing down, they're breaking down the breakdowns.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's also great that like all the choruses are catchy, but they're also heavy. Like it's Korn, but it's an evolution of Korn. A lot of people will say about modern Korn, oh, they're just trying to do the old stuff again, and I challenge you, like listen to everything from the Untitled album up to now and see how different every single album is. Like this band has done so many different things in their modern era, like it's really impressive. And I listened to the Serenity of Suffering as well this week just to compare like how they've changed. This album feels completely different. It feels way darker, a lot more just unhappy and just heavier, just like it really digs in more than Serenity of Suffering. Not to knock on that album, it's a fantastic album, but I think this one just is a lot more guttural.
Yeah, I definitely think this one definitely pulls back from the first half of the discography, which most Korn fans would probably agree is the better half. And that's definitely a good thing. It feels like if you felt like Korn stepped away or fell off the map or whatever, it feels like they're back. That's kind of how I feel. Because there's just so much stuff on this album, man, that just stands out, and every song was cranked, and I'm like, yes, this part, that. There's like every part of every song, I was like, yes, this, yes, this, yes, this. Like, the Seduction of Indulgence, the percussion at the intro of that, actually throughout the whole song, but just the timbre of that is just awesome. I don't even know what it is, to be honest.
It's
like drums with an effect, or it's some electronic drums, or maybe it's steel drums or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I like it. It sounds really good.
The rhythm that plays at the beginning there too, like I feel like it's really gonna break down to something crazy, but then it goes a completely different direction, which feels good and bad at the same time. Because it feels bad, it's like, oh, I was expecting blank. But then when I realized what it turned into, it's like, well, this is still sick. Like, I love this anyway.
Yeah. Another song that's kind of stood out to me as a shining light on this album is This Loss. Now, This Loss is a powerful song. It's very emotional, very deep. The lyric where it says, it's tearing in my heart, it's got this beautiful tenor voice. I don't know what note he hits, but it's awesome. What else? Shadow of the man I once used to be, everything I've ever loved was always taken back from me. The way he blends those two lines in together, like the E and B and the E and everything, is like the same E. They just blend right together, which is awesome. One more thing I want to mention though, because I wanted to talk about this earlier, but I forgot. Jonathan Davis' voice sounds amazing on this album, but there's a few points where he sounds breathy. And it's not that I mind it. I feel like it sounds organic, and that adds to the emotional element of the album.
Well, that's kind of what it is with Korn. Like, they're very organic. Like, at that level, they're very organic.
Yeah, but there's just like, I can't think of the exact examples. Like, every time I'm listening to it and one of those parts comes up, I'm like, oh, there was that breathy part. There's like 3 or 4 of them around there in the album, and I'm like, he could have done that in one breath. But like, I don't know if he did it on purpose to make it sound like he was distraught or emotional or something, or maybe he just really had to take a breath, I'm not sure. But the fact that they didn't edit it and fix it, which could have been done pretty easily probably, is something that I really like, because it gives it an organic feel.
And it makes him seem really human. I think that's a big part of Korn's just entire discography, is just like Jonathan Davis showing how human he is and how real everything that happens to him is. So, because most, I guess, vocal performances, when you hear them, they're just kind of the voice that's there, but it feels like Jonathan Davis is here with you, like telling you about his problems.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I also want to talk about Harder a little bit, just mention how that one is also really catchy. It's honestly similar to Gravity and Discomfort, where it's catchy, but it goes hard, no pun intended, at the same time. So it's guttural. Like this, a guttural is a really good word to describe this album.
Yeah, so let's rate it.
All right, well, this album gets my toe tag straight up because it's awesome. I was loving it all week, and just every song was standing out. Like, I was having so much fun with it throughout the whole week, and this album's sick.
Yeah, there's a lot that this album offers on all fronts. One thing that we didn't quite touch on, I want to mention just briefly, is the relatability of this album, because everybody has sad moments in their life and everybody goes through tough times. Everybody has bits of depression and things like that. And you got lyrics like in the song Harder, it's always about, well, why does my life keep getting harder? In this Loss, you got Happiness is a club I'll never be in. That's a deep lyric, man. That's a deep, deep lyric. And I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to that, and that just shows the power of KoYan and that they themselves are like their fans. I feel like I can relate to these guys, and they make great music, and yeah, this album gets my toe tag. It's solid through and through. It's very, very fun to listen to. They fucking hit it out of the park.
Yeah, this album is honestly fantastic, guys. You should check it out. Anyway, that's all we got for you today. Remember to listen to the Nothing. Tell us in the comments below if you love this album as much as we did, if it gets your toe tag. Remember, subscribe if you're new to the channel, like the video if you liked it. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm Vile Self.
And we'll see you guys later.